don't know what to say. The monkeys won't do. And I also don't know what to say about those crazy producers from the GCAU Radio Network. They're driving me crazy. Ugh.
Hello and welcome to the 95th episode of ToonCast, brought to you by the GeekCast Radio Network. I am your host, T.A. Joe Mike, and today I am joined once again by Steve Megatron. Hello.
Hello.
And the Knightwing.
Hello.
Hello. Today we are going to be continuing the DC Animated Universe Spotlight with Batman Beyond.
Woo.
Yes. Now, someone asked in the Ustream chat when I started a pre-show, because we are streaming this via Ustream as far as the audio recording and all that. Someone asked me if we were going to be covering the latest films here in the DCAU Spotlight, and I need to specifically state the DC Universe animated original movies, while they do have returning voice actors, and, well, Crisis on Two Earths is technically the rewritten version of Justice League Worlds Collide, which was a movie that was never made. They will not be covered here in the DC Animated Universe Spotlight on ToonCast proper. They will be the first 10 or 12 episodes in ToonCast Beyond later this year, going into 2012. That's if the world doesn't end.
Hope not.
Yeah. So... that's that. So, Steve, what have you been up to?
Well, for the most part, just voicing random projects, of course, Transformers related, and BSing with people from Shout, and pretty much just catching up on all the rewatching Batman, Batman Beyond, Beast Wars, all that good stuff.
Yes. And what about you, Nightwing? What have you been up to since we recorded Superman last week?
Not much. A friend and I are working on maybe getting a Smallville podcast together next month, so that'll be fun, but it's still in its planning stages, so nothing to report yet.
Yeah, like I said in episode 94 of ToonCast, there's no way in hell GeekCast Radio Network will ever tackle a Smallville podcast, a full-on review Smallville podcast, until a complete series DVD set comes out, which that will come out eventually, but yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So, I think that's it. I've just been, surviving in my quote-unquote temporary housing. I mean, it's a nice little one-bedroom apartment, but like I said last time, it's, there's boxes and bags everywhere, and yeah, I kind of feel like I'm in a warehouse, for Christ's sake, a really, really full warehouse. And let's see, I did 2 ToyCast specials, even though ToyCast is not back in full swing yet. Let's see, I've got from the Command Center stuff coming up. I got rescheduled for the Robert Axelrod and Barbara Goodson interview later in March. Just a bunch of cool stuff, so I think we're going to get into the history lesson. Batman Beyond, also known as Batman of the Future, is an American animated television series created by the WB Television Network in collaboration with DC Comics and Warner Brothers Animation. It is a continuation of the Batman legacy. It began airing January 10th, 1999, and ended its run on December 18th, 2001. After 52 episodes spanning 3 seasons and 1 direct-to-video film, the series was put on hold for the new Justice League animated series, despite the network having announced plans for a 4th season. However, there was a short-lived spin-off, The Zeta Project. In the Zeta Project's first season episode, Shadows, there is a crossover with Batman Beyond. In this continuity, the story takes place between the episode Countdown and its series finale, Unmasked. I should say the unaired series finale, Unmasked. Batman Beyond is set in the chronological future of the DC Animated Universe, though it was released before Justice League and Justice League Unlimited and Static Shock. Some characters from the series appeared 2 years later in Future Shock, in an episode of Static Shock, then again Once in the Future Thing episodes of Justice League Unlimited. The character of Terry McGinnis was revisited a final time in the GCAU episode Epilogue, which was epic.
Yes, it was.
Which tells much about the future of Batman. Batman Beyond is said to exploit the darker side of many Batman projects, playing on key elements such as emotions, personal relations, and fear of the unknown. The technological malfunctions, such as it was considerably darker than most of the children's programming at the time. Although the producer, Bruce Timm, recalls it was conceived as a kid-friendly Batman cartoon, it was also the first Batman series to portray the hero as a teenager. So, Nightwing, what are your general thoughts and memories on Batman Beyond?
Well, let's see. When I first heard about it, I was at a grocery store reading comic books, because they still had comic books in grocery stores back then. And I was looking through I think it was a Superman animated series comic, and they had an ad in there for Batman Beyond, and all that I saw was just this red bat shape. And I was like, whoa, wait, what? It was like, this series coming to Kids WB this fall. And I was like, wait, what? So, I started poring over the internet, searching for everything I could on it, and I found out about it, and I was like, all right, this is pretty awesome. Turns out, it was too violent for my 9-year-old brain, or so my parents said, so I was never allowed to watch it till I was older. But, I really do love the show now that I've gotten a chance to watch all of it. I think it's incredible. I think it's maybe actually the darkest of all the DCAU series overall. I think it's got a lot of great character development. It's maybe also the most original DCAU show so far. Not the best, but the most original, I think. It took a stupid idea, really, of a teenage Batman, and they made it into a really mature, deep, and really special story. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What about you, Steve?
I don't actually recall when I first saw this. I can imagine it was early 2000s. I just remember at some point catching various episodes here or there of it, and I think it might have been on WB. I don't know, though. I don't really remember what station I originally caught it on. But I thought it was the most epic thing to follow up the original Batman cartoon, which I grew up watching. Yeah. And the fact that they kept a lot of the continuity flowing between the two, between voice actors and some of the villains that happened to reappear, being that of Talia, Raish, this was before I even knew of Return of the Joker. Yeah. And I just thought this was the most awesome thing to have come across since Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah. For me, at the time I was 19, I had just gotten back into cartoons and just found out about it. And I actually thought it was Further Adventures of Bruce Wayne. And I think I had originally seen Rebirth, and I had seen a few other episodes, I don't remember, and I was like, really? I mean, and again, this was over 10 years ago that I had the really opinion, and, I came to like it. I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't Further Adventures of Bruce Wayne, even though his last adventure is very, very epic. It was very, very, very cool. One of the things that I thought, the reason why I thought it was not just a continuation of Batman the Animated Series, but a continuation of Bruce Wayne's adventures was because of that rotating head in the intro of old Bruce Wayne, and I'm like, wait, that's Bruce Wayne? He's old. What the hell? So yeah, that's what I remember of it, and the music, the voice acting, just all of it was really, really amazing. There are some episodes that are kind of, but for the most part, very, very good. And very, very dark. And like Nightwing said, it's probably the darkest DCAU series. I mean, there were a few episodes of Batman the Animated Series that were kind of dark, but not this dark.
Yeah.
Yep.
Getting into the characters and voice actors, the main characters, Terry McGinnis is the current Batman, voiced by Will Friedle. Oh, hey, it's, what's his name's older brother from Boy Meets World.
Yes.
It's Corey's older brother.
Eric. Yeah.
Matthews.
Wow. I can't believe I remember the damn name of the older brother. Holy crap.
The funny thing is, before I go to work every day, Boy Meets World is on ABC Family. So I get to watch the first 15 minutes of it before I have to head out the door. And it's funny watching the progression of that character go from, like, intelligent to stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can definitely tell it's the same voice.
Oh, yeah.
He's also Ron Stoppable and Kim Possible.
Yep. Yeah, if we, I found that out when I was doing some research on him, because I had sent his agent a request for interview, which have yet to get a reply on, but I found that out and I was like, oh yeah, we so need Geekcast Radio promos from Ron Stoppable. That would be so cool. And everybody knows Bruce Wayne, the original Batman, Terry's employer, revealed to be Terry's biological father in Justice League Unlimited episode epilogue.
Spoilers.
Yeah, it's over 10 years old. If people haven't seen it yet, they should have already seen it. Voiced by the incomparable Kevin Conroy. Just the range that Conroy has, like I pointed out to Steve a while ago. Last week I pointed out to Steve, or it might have been over the weekend. And Steve didn't know this, and I'll point it out to him again once we get to Legends of the Dark Knight, which will be a future podcast. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Within the DCAU, Kevin Conroy's voice is the first voice we ever hear in on Leather Wings in BTAS, because he voices the helicopter pilot that the Man-Bat flies by.
Yeah, I remember that.
In the beginning. And Conroy has not just the Batman voice, not just his regular voice as Bruce Wayne. He has such range with the vocal inflections from Bruce Wayne to Batman to old Bruce. It's just so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to say about Conroy or the old Bruce?
I will say that... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Steve.
Definitely I'd have to say I like the how he got to be the young version of Bruce and go all the way down to the old, even as far down as himself in the Justice League Unlimited episode with the futuristic
epilogue.
Epilogue. And
Yep.
You get to hear, more and more strain get into his voice as the years go by, just because he gets more and more frail and more crippled. But you can still tell he's somewhat of a badass, or wants to be, the older he gets, even though he's not. He's kind of like adopted the Batman voice the older he gets.
Yeah. What about you, Nightwing? Thoughts on Bruce, old Bruce?
Well, I will say that one thing that's kind of disappointing is that he mostly only has one personality. He has the, I'm gruff and old and cranky. Like, that's all he ever does for the most part. He has a little bit of range, but it's more in comparing this version to the original animated series version that you see the range. He doesn't get that many opportunities in this show to really show off his range that much. That being said, this is still awesome, but I think actually Terry McGinnis, Will Friedle has a bit more opportunity to really show off his acting skill. Bruce is just sort of, he's awesome, but he is just sort of there for the most part. He has a couple episodes where he shines, but he is just sort of there, which is a little bit sad, I think.
Yeah, I know that Nightwing and I both listen to World's Finest Podcast over at Earth2.net. I don't know if Steve listens to that show or not.
Nope.
But when they did their Batman Beyond coverage over there, they had a Terry alert every time Bruce would say Terry. It's like McGinnis, Terry, and that's where he really kind of put the range on it a little bit.
McGinnis, get out of there.
Yeah, really. And it's one of those things where, and they've even said that, this is Terry's show.
Right.
Yes, it is a continuation of Batman the Animated Series. Yes, the first two-parter episode shows Bruce Wayne's final adventure. But technically this is Terry McGinnis' show. He is the new Batman. They wanted to introduce a new Batman but still keep the old roots of the continuity and all that. And I believe Bruce Timm had even said in one of the special features on the Batman Beyond discs that when they were approached for this Teenage Batman show, they said something about an old Bruce Wayne, and at the time the head guy at WB, Jamie something or other, I forget what his last name is, said, oh yeah, let's make him like 80, 90 and really old and really decrepit. And they had Kevin, I almost called him Bruce, holy crap. They had Kevin Conroy come in and read for a really, really old Bruce Wayne, like really, really old, kind of like what he is when he's struggling with his pills and epilogue.
Right, I think he's supposed to be 95 at that point.
Yeah. They originally wanted him to be that old from the start, and it just didn't feel right for the beginning of the series. You also have, which again I will probably be referencing World's Finest Podcast multiple times in here, because especially with the next character, because they hate her. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Have the female Robin, Maxine Max Gibson, who is a friend of Terry's, who knows his secret and occasionally helps Batman, and she is voiced by Cree Summer.
Yeah. I don't hate her. I get it.
Well, you don't, but they do.
Yeah, I understand the Max hate. I understand why people would hate her. It's not just the World's Finest Podcast guys. A lot of people hate Max. I don't really hate her. She's just sort of there for me. Like, I could do without her, but it doesn't really matter. It's like, okay, she's there, whatever.
I wouldn't mind seeing her in the old Batgirl costume.
I would. That kind of freaked me out, honestly. Like, she is just annoying enough that I wouldn't want her to have any more important of a role. But as it stands, she's okay.
I agree.
I still say the best lines that she and Terry had were in the episode when she found out about him when she was running her computer program thing. And at the end, she was like, whatever, McGinnis, just don't call me Alfred. He's like, okay, Robin. She's like, who's Robin?
Oh, no, it was the other way around. She said, don't call me Robin, and he's like, okay, fine, Alfred. And then,
okay, yeah, okay. Oops. Yeah. It was something like that.
But yeah, that was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty hilarious. Then you have Dana Tan, who is the incidental, lonely, pretty much neglected girlfriend of Terry McGinnis.
The very cranky girlfriend.
Yeah, the one who gets creeped out by rat boys.
Oh, yeah.
God, I hate that episode. Who is voiced by Lauren Tom. Just great voice acting on her. Really, really great. Even though Dana didn't really have time to shine. She didn't really have time to shine or anything. She was pretty much an incidental character.
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't really like Dana because, for the most part, what she was there to do was to be an obstacle for Terry. And it's like, I wanted to like her, but they never really gave me a reason to. So it's like, all she did was just constantly dump Terry or tell him he was a terrible boyfriend or a terrible person and scowl at him whenever he was late. That's all she ever did until Epilogue, when she apparently supposedly married him.
Because, he's the goddamn Batman now.
Oh, if we ever get an interview with Friedel, we so have to have him say that as well.
That would be amazing.
I don't know if he would say it, and I'm more concerned if we ever got an interview with Conroy, if he would ever say it.
Oh, he would.
That would be so awesome. And then you have Ace the Bat Hound.
Greatest character in this entire show.
Now, they give credit to Frank Welker. However, in the commentaries, it is said that the barking and the playing, the barking and the sounds of Ace were Bruce Timm, one of their storyboarders or animators or one of their production people. Not Bruce Timm himself, but one of their other production people. One day just played with that person's dog, and had him make all the sounds. Yes, I know that Frank Welker probably did the majority of it, but I do remember that they in the commentary did not even mention Frank Welker whatsoever. They said it was somebody else's actual dog doing the barking.
I wonder if maybe it was a thing where it was like Frank Welker did other little sounds that they didn't get the dog to do, like the actual barks were a dog. Maybe, when he's doing a little whiny voice or whatever, it's actually Frank Welker.
Yeah. Steve, what do you think of Ace the Bat Hound in this one?
I liked a lot of the roles that he did have, unlike some of the other characters.
Yes.
He was actually pretty useful in various scenarios.
More useful than Max.
Hey.
Max was somewhat helpful. I mean, she wasn't completely useless, but she
was a hacker.
Yeah.
Okay, that's true.
So she had that going for her. She's kind of like, in that sense, she's kind of like Batgirl and, being able to hack through stuff, but...
Oh, yeah, like Oracle.
Yeah.
But, Ace the Bat Hound I liked because, one of my more favorite, sequences that he's in is Return of the Joker.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
how you doing, killer?
Yeah. Good bad dog.
I don't deserve to live. What have I done? I killed the little rabbit. And yeah, I'm so glad that this was a WB show. I'm so glad that all the DCAU stuff were obviously Warner Brothers animation cartoons, because there's no way in hell you would have to pay an astronomical amount of money to Warner Brothers to use that little clip from that old Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Yeah.
And then some of the other characters. You've got Terry's family, Warren and Mary McGinnis, who are divorced parents. Warren is murdered at the start of the series, and Terry moves in with his mother and after his father's death. Voiced by Michael Gross and Terry Garr. For what we did see of Warren, it was really, really great. I really liked the character. His mom is just so absent. I mean, I know the series is focusing on Terry and focusing on his adventures as Batman and going through high school and all that, but I don't know.
Well, I think the thing is, though, they wanted to, they made Rebirth, maybe the best episode of the entire series, except for Return of the Joker, but that's a movie, so, and that one was so focused on the emotion of it all and the emotional impact of the events of the story. So since Warren was so instrumental in that first episode and in Terry becoming Batman, I mean, Warren's death is kind of almost like the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne. It's what triggers Terry and makes him become Batman in a very indirect way. So It's a lot more important, and I think Terry views Warren a little bit like Bruce views his parents, But Mary, she's still alive, and she never really was given very much emotional reason to exist. She's not very deep that we see anyway. She's just sort of there, and yeah, she's not that important. She's like a Jonathan Kent in Superman the Animated Series, just sort of there.
And see, she's like throughout, and people can correct me if I'm wrong. I fully admit I know nothing of Batman comic history whatsoever. I just know what I've read here and there, and I know what, obviously I've seen a lot of different Batman stuff on TV and movies and stuff like that. She almost to me is like I don't want to speak ill of Martha Wayne, but she's almost to me like a live Martha Wayne, but she's just a neglectful parent.
Sort of. Martha, they haven't given her much development in the comics, but what little we know of her, she was very near and dear to Bruce's heart. It's kind of like Thomas Wayne was Bruce's sort of his idol, but his mom was the one that he really loved. So I guess you'd say, his dad was like his strength and his mom was his heart. But yeah, here it's like Mary McGinnis does not matter whatsoever. She's just there to be the mom character.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Warren or Mary, Steve?
Warren was pretty much, a strong character for when he was alive. And for the most part, you can see that that's Terry's reason for becoming Batman, but it's also quickly, forgotten.
Yeah, that's true.
And with Mary, she's just kind of, I don't know. She's like another obstacle, kind of like Dana, just kind of there. It was the same thing with Matt.
See, I liked Matt.
I like him too. I don't love him,
for his sarcasticness. It kind of reminded me of a Boy Meets World moment.
See, I thought, and I could be wrong about this, but at first, when I first heard Matt McGinnis's voice, Terry's younger brother, I thought it was Matthew Valencia, who also voiced Tim Drake Robin in the new Batman Adventures, but it's not. It's Ryan O'Donoghue.
Well, he looks almost exactly like Tim Drake.
I think he may have done the voice for Robin in the...
in Return of the Joker?
No, the Batwoman.
Oh, well, that doesn't count.
No, I don't think so. I think the guy who did...
No. What I'm saying, Steve, is Matthew Valencia was the voice of Robin in the new Batman Adventures, the Tim Drake Robin. Matt McGinnis is voiced by Ryan O'Donoghue. At first, when I heard Matt McGinnis's voice, I thought it was the Tim Drake Robin voice. I thought it was the voice actor that had voiced Robin in the new Batman Adventures. But it's not.
Well, they look really similar, those two characters.
They do.
Well, of course, then again, all the Robins and young Bruce Wayne look identical. Young Bruce Wayne looks the same as young Dick Grayson and young Tim Drake. And, not really, in the comics they have Jason Todd, who looks a bit different because he's actually a redhead and then he dyes his hair black. But, all the Robins and Bruce are very, very creepily identical.
Yep. Except for when you get into Batman Forever, where Chris O'Donnell had brown hair. Anyway, not gonna go there. Some other recurring hero-like characters, just side characters, friends of Terry. You've got, well, not friends of Terry, but some of them are, some of them aren't. Barbara Gordon, the no-nonsense Gotham City Police Commissioner. Oh, so she went into her father's line of work. Good. I always wondered how the hell that happened. That was one of the biggest mysteries to me, from going from Batman the Animated Series with Commissioner Jim Gordon to Batman Beyond with Commissioner Barbara. I'm like, what the hell happened that she got police commissioner?
Well, that made sense to me because...
Well, it makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm just saying it was a surprise to me, and it was kind of weird. I want to know how, what were the events that led up to, either Jim retired or, heaven forbid, he was shot in action. You know what I mean?
He never tells what happened to him.
Yeah.
They sort of explain how she took over the fact that the creepiest thing about, I think, maybe this entire show for me is the fact that it says that Barbara Gordon and Bruce Wayne dated at some point. Like, they were a couple after Nightwing, not me, the other Nightwing, left. And, and then I'm like, no, that's the creepiest thing ever. She's like in her 20s and he's like 40. And yeah, well, he dated her just to keep her as Batgirl so that she would, stay on the team. Then when I
kind of disagree with you there, because my contention is that Bruce Wayne, throughout Batman the Animated Series, all 4 seasons, whatever incarnation you want to call it, New Batman Adventures, New Superman Batman, whatever you want to call like the 3rd and 4th season after like when the revamp episode started, my contention is that throughout the entire BTAS run, Bruce is anywhere from 30 to 35. And she's in her 20s, so 20s to 25. It's only a 10-year difference. I mean, it would be different if, he was, like you said, he was like 40 or 50 and she was in her 20s, but...
Well, I think it's more because he was a sort of a father figure to Dick Grayson, who was her age, and so it's like he's dating his adopted son's ex.
Well, you can only go up from Robin, right?
Well, also, okay, if you do the math, you figure, okay, if Bruce Wayne was 18 when he left on his 7-year journey to, learn martial arts and all the sciences, he'd be coming back to Gotham at age, what would that be, like 25, I guess? 25, yeah. And so let's say he meets Dick Grayson, young Dick Grayson, within the first year of him being Batman. So Dick Grayson was between 8 and 10. We'll just say he's 9 when that happened. So since he's in college by BTAS, that means that another 10 years have passed, or thereabouts. Well, about 10 years. And then after that, there's another, who knows how many, I'm guessing maybe 2 or 3 years between BTAS and TNBA. So that means that Bruce is in his late 30s at absolute least. Granted, I don't think they did the math that precisely in the show. I'm just saying, if you think about it, it's a little wonky.
The way you're explaining it just is making me convulse and hyperventilate over here. The way you're explaining it is making me convulse and hyperventilate over here because the way you're explaining it actually... I'm able to see Teen Titans in continuity. Ow!
No. It's not true.
No, I know. Teen Titans is not in continuity. I know. I get it. I'm still of that stance. But the way you're explaining it with Bruce Wayne being 18 and just starting out on his journey and coming back and teaching a young Dick Grayson at 8 or 9 or 10, we all know that Robin was young. Dick Grayson Robin was young in Teen Titans.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of seeing it. It's all your fault, dude.
Well, no, there's still plenty of other things.
I know.
Okay.
Teen Titans is not in continuity. I know.
Amen.
So Steve, really quick before Steve goes, I have to point out, Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, Commissioner Gordon, Oracle, whatever you want to call her, was in the series. The first 2 seasons of the series, she was voiced by Stockard Channing. And Stockard, for some strange reason, scheduling conflicts or whatever it was, I forget. Bruce Timm mentions it in the Return of the Joker commentary. Could not do voice for Return of the Joker, so they recast Angie Harmon. Oh, Angie Harmon, Homer Simpson drool. Anyway. Because she has this like really, really husky, sexy voice, and it really worked. And I actually prefer Angie Harmon's voicing of Barbara versus Stockard's. So with that, Steve, any thoughts on Commissioner Barbara Gordon?
She's old.
That's all you have to say?
She's really old.
This is true.
She's a cranky old woman.
Okay, then. All right, moving on to her husband, D.A. Sam Young.
A wrinkly old man.
The best thing about Sam Young in the series, D.A. Sam Young in the series, is that he is voiced by the late Paul Winfield. When I first heard of Paul Winfield I don't know if you guys ever saw this on A&E. It's a show called City Confidential. And it's like one of the, it's kind of like not Eddie Murphy movie. Holy crap, what is that? 48 Hours Investigates. It's it's one of these like crime shows that one of these town shows, kind of like Where Are They Now, but for you know what I'm getting at, right?
Yes.
You guys get it. Anyway, look up City Confidential. You'll see. But yeah, which Sam wasn't in too many episodes. He was in a couple. Curare was trying to kill him.
Yeah, I gotta say, this character bugged the heck out of me as a kid, because as a kid I kind of idolized Nightwing, as you can tell. So
yeah,
even
like spell it wrong.
Yes, but no. So as a kid, I kind of I wanted him to end up with Batgirl, and then in the show when it's like, oh, Bruce is a decrepit old man alone in his little castle, and Barbara Gordon isn't with Dick Grayson. She's with some other dude we've never seen before. And later in the movie, we find out that Tim Drake, the fun little kid from the series, he's this other cranky old man who couldn't be Robin anymore. I'm like, this is terrible. It ruined my dreams.
Any thoughts on D.A. Sam Young, Steve?
He's old, wrinkly. He's got a better disposition than Barbara Gordon.
But,
he's very lightly featured. One of those kind of characters that you could give kind of two craps less about.
The character I will agree with, but the voicing of him from Paul Winfield...
Oh, no, the voice cast for Batman Beyond overall was awesome. The characters may have been kind of but... that's with any show. But the voice cast definitely fit the character styles.
Yes. I'm going to run through these last four really quick, and we'll kind of touch on the last one a little bit more than the other three. You've got Howard Groot, who is the nerdy student at Hamilton Hill High School, and a friend of Terry. His design was based on producer Paul Dini, and he's voiced by Max Brooks. Yeah, Howard was the one that decided to get a robot girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Good old Cynthia.
Cynthia, synthetic, I get it.
Exactly. And then you have Bobby Blade Summer, a popular student. Yes. Popular student at Terry's school. She never has a steady boyfriend and occasionally goes out with different boys. Blade is seen to be friends with Terry, Dana, Max, and Howard, and she is voiced by Melissa Disney. Then you have Chelsea Cunningham, who is another Hamilton Hill High School student. She is best friend of Dana and Terry, former girlfriend and crush of Nelson, and she is voiced by Yvette Lowenthal and Rachel Lee Cook. Rachel Lee Cook voiced her in Return of the Joker. That's right.
Yeah.
That's a big cast change right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final character, the only reason why I'm going to, bring him up a little bit more than the other three is Nelson Nash, an athlete and bully at Terry's school who eventually matures and becomes more friendly during the series. He seems to be popular with the girls, but never has a steady girlfriend. He is most likely inspired by Flash Thompson from the Spider-Man 1994 cartoon.
And
he is voiced by... Huh?
And the comics, too.
Okay, well, I only know... outside of that lame version of Flash in Spider-Man 1 movie, I only know Flash from 94 Spidey.
He's a big character in the comics.
Yeah, well, I know who he is in the comics, but I don't know all of the history of him,
right.
So... And, of course, he is voiced by none other than Robot Chicken himself, Seth Green.
I had no idea about that.
Really? You didn't know that?
No, I'd never heard that before.
You couldn't tell?
I think I watched the series before I knew who Seth Green was. so I never made the connection.
Yeah. And getting into, we have anything we want to say about Nelson? Steve, you have anything you want to say about Nelson Nash?
I could see definitely where he was inspired by Flash Thompson. I did not know that it was Seth Green. But yeah, I a lot of these tertiary characters, I don't think I cared for much. I was more so bring on the Batman, bring on the villain.
Okay. Speaking of the villains, we have Derek Powers, who is the ruthless businessman whose company Powers Technology merged with Wayne Enterprises years before. That's another story I want to see in animation. How the hell did Bruce Wayne let his company get taken over?
He was very sad and lonely. He forgot to take his pills, and he just didn't, he was too tired, and he couldn't get to the phone in time. And by the time he crawled over... Oh, yeah, that's it, yes.
And Barbara left him for an old, crinkly guy.
Oh.
An older, crinkly guy. And of course, after exposure to some nerve gas, ultimately referred to as a virus, Powers is treated with extreme radiation and becomes the radioactive villain Blight, voiced by Sherman Howard, who played Lex Luthor in Superboy. I like Blight. I like the look of that character design. I could give a shit less about Derek Powers.
Yeah, and even as Blight, he didn't do very much. He was like, "Rawr, I'm Blight," and then that's it. Like, he was cool in the ads. He was a cool action figure. He was a cool... he looked cool, and he had a cool power, but he didn't really do very much. He was in, 2-3 episodes? And,
more than that.
I guess that's true, yeah.
Yeah. The whole thing with Derek Powers and Blight is, after the accident in Rebirth, Powers is trying to hide it. The whole point is he has to keep up public, appearances.
I did like that.
Yeah, and he's like, "Sir, your skin is falling off again." You don't think I don't know that? Wow, that was actually a really good impression on my part. Holy crap. And then you have the Jokers.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Gangsters who act out the tradition of the infamous Joker. However, they are not students of his. They are merely teenage delinquents who enjoy vandalism, petty crimes. They are usually apprehended by Batman quite easily and served more of an irritation than a genuine threat. Now, the one Joker in Batman Beyond that I absolutely love showed up in Rebirth. Was the lead Joker, voiced by none other than Bruce Timm himself. This Joker was in almost a full-on replica design of the actual Joker. He was in a purple suit, had the green hair. The model's a little bit different than the actual Joker himself, but
yeah.
Just Bruce Timm voicing that character was so cool.
Yeah,
and they had said in the in the commentaries and stuff, the animators and producers kept putting that Joker in so Bruce would have to voice him.
I actually like the Jokers a lot, even though they're kind of dorky and stupid. Back when they were first advertising the show, Kids WB did an amazing job of really setting the tone for the series. They weren't shy about the fact that it was dark, it was serious, it was a dystopian future, and, all the ads they would show, they would feature the Jokers and they would use them to illustrate the fact that this was a crime-ridden Gotham. Like, a city without Batman is terrible. Gotham was dark before. Now it's a horrible wasteland. And the Jokers, they represented the fact that even though the Joker himself wasn't around, his legacy was almost stronger than Batman's at this point. In fact, it was. He had taken over in almost, posthumously. So I thought their presence was cooler than their actual characters, but still, I like them as an idea.
Steve, any thoughts on Derek Powers, Blight, or the Jokers?
Derek Powers I thought was pretty interesting, especially when he got into the fight with Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, that was a good episode.
Yes. That was one of his more memorable moments. And then, as far as the Jokers, I'd have to agree. I do like the lead Joker. He was the only one worth really noting, besides the ones that were in Return of the Joker, which were also featured in the
JLU episode,
yes.
Once and Future thing.
Yes. But other than that, I didn't really care for the other ones, but I did find them slightly entertaining, even though they were pretty much cannon fodder.
Yeah, there was one. There's a few like different lead Jokers throughout the series, and there's a few that I absolutely really loved. Like, I loved Carter Grayson as one of the lead Jokers because he's supposed to be this A student, and his mom gives him a hard time, basically tells him he's a loser, so he goes out and becomes a Joker. I like the design on Carter Grayson's Joker, which I'm wondering. I know this isn't possible, but I'm wondering if he's some sort of descendant of Dick Grayson and the Graysons, since his name was Carter Grayson.
That would be kind of weird, although I'm trying to remember, I think it was was it The Dark Knight Strikes Again, or no, it was The Dark Knight Returns, I think. There was a book, that I think it was Frank Miller comic book. I think it refers to the idea that Dick Grayson has become kind of like the Joker. He has actually adopted the Joker's identity, because in that universe, Batman was such a terrible parent that he drove Dick into madness. So it's kind of an interesting connection there. And this series is very heavily inspired by that book. I mean, a lot of the fashion comes from that book. You know, the characters, their character designs. The interior of the Batmobile is exactly the same as in that book, just it's red instead of gray. So there's a lot of cool connections there.
Yeah, The Dark Knight Returns did help a lot with this series. I know that they had mentioned that. They had mentioned that with in the future, no one will have lapels. Because all the suits are lapel-less. Some of the other villains, some of them, like, I don't know. Like, I'll mention the first two here, and I'll mention a couple of the other ones, but I don't remember a lot of these people. Brain trust. First one is Ink, who is treated with a mutagen. Ink has the ability to turn her body into liquid. She's a freelance saboteur, and she's voiced by Shannon Kenny.
She's pretty good.
Ink, I would have to say, out of all of Terry's villains, not counting Bruce's past villains, Ink, I would probably say, is Terry's, like, antithesis. She's his Joker. She's his biggest villain because he's never been able to catch her.
I don't know if I quite agree with that. I don't know if she's quite a personal enough villain for him. Like, she's not quite his moral antithesis the way the Joker is. But I think she's almost more like his Clayface to me, because she has that shape-shifting ability, and she's very different than she's a freelance saboteur. She's more into corporate espionage. She's a spy. But, still, I don't know. I actually kind of put the one-time bad guy, Mr. Fix, as Terry's Joker, the guy who killed his dad.
I would too, and I was going to mention that, but the only problem is with Mr. Fix and Derek Powers, like Derek and Blight, or Derek Blight, whatever you want to call him, specifically, Derek is more of like old Bruce's bad guy type of deal, because they're always doing the corporate war and all that crap. And I will agree that Mr. Fix, because Mr. Fix was the one that killed Warren McGinnis, it would be Terry's, ultimate ultimate villain. But I mean, as far like Mr. Fix was only in Rebirth, we'd never see him again.
I was kind of surprised at that, because they didn't show the body. He just kind of crashed into a river. I mean, come on, that's like a built-in return scenario right there. But I'm not that sad he didn't come back. But if they'd had a fourth season, I bet they would have brought him back eventually, at some point.
But I mean, as far as like the actual quote unquote super villains, I mean, because let's face it, Mr. Fix, even though he is the person that killed Warren, he is a human. There's nothing super about him. As far as the actual super villains, Ink would probably be number one on Terry's list, considering she did get into the Batcave.
She would be number one on the Rogues Gallery, but she is more of a Clayface.
No, and I'm not disagreeing. They even say that, they didn't want to do, they didn't just want to do Riddler Beyond, Penguin Beyond, Clayface Beyond, and all that stuff. But Ink is a Clayface type character. All as I'm saying is, as far as the super villains, the ones that actually have powers and abilities, she is Terry's number one bad guy.
I think that might be more of a... It might be more because she had the most episodes and she happened to get the farthest, she got into the... Well, she tried to drown Terry with herself, didn't she? I mean, that was kind of freaky.
Yep.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think what bothers me about her is that, and this is true of almost all of Terry's villains, is that very, very, very few of them are personal, and they're not... They don't really get inside Terry's head the same way that the Joker or some of Bruce's other villains do. So, I mean, the Joker, when he comes back, he does. But
yeah, we'll get to him.
Yeah, but still, I like Ink a lot. I think she's pretty cool.
Any thoughts on Ink, Steve?
I'd have to also agree. I liked her character throughout the many reoccurrences that she had.
Yes. The next one is probably the most interesting. What, Steve?
I said that she's one of the most better ones that have shown up throughout Batman Beyond and JLU.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. JLU had some pretty good villains.
Well, as far as Batman Beyond appearances.
Yeah. Right. The next one I find ranks among my most interesting villains as far as Batman goes, which is Shriek. Walter Shreve, who was initially a sound engineer hoping to improve society with his inventions. And, of course, at the end of that episode, he becomes deaf and becomes Shriek. And all this. The greatest thing about the Shriek episode was the sound design.
Yeah.
I believe, didn't they win an Emmy for this episode?
I think they might have.
I think they did. We'll have to look at it down later in the awards section, but I think that they did because the whole battle between him and Batman, it's Shriek turning his own personal sound volume up, his little, what the hell are they called, dude? They're called, the sound amplification things or the sound dampener. I don't know. Whatever it is that it causes everything else to be silent and have echo, but he can still hear. Like you can hear Batman's footsteps and stuff, that thing. That was just amazing because there was no... It's one of the things I love about it. There's no music, no nothing. It's just sound effects. It's just the echoes. And then, of course, once Terry unplugs his helmet or whatever, all the noise comes screaming back because he had turned it up to full volume, and that's what makes him go deaf.
Yeah.
I really liked Shriek. He was really, really cool.
Yeah, Shriek is kind of, I think, a bit underrated by most fans. I think it's worth noting that Shriek is, in that episode, Babel, where, he uses these twin towers as a giant tuning fork and scrambles the sound waves of everything in the city so no one can talk to each other, like the biblical Tower of Babel. Although, also, interestingly, everyone speaks in Babel. Anyway, in that episode, that's the first time where you actually ever, where Terry actually reveals that he is willing to give his life for the city. Like, I think that's the point where he stops being just a guy who's, trying to make up for his past sins when he broke that one window and stole that CD when he was 14. And now he's actually, he's a genuine, selfless hero willing to sacrifice his own life for the good of all people.
And the good of Gotham.
Yes.
Not just the good of all people, the good of the Gotham people.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Some of the other ones, I'm just going to run down the line. If you guys have any thoughts, well, let's get Steve's thoughts on Shriek, but after that, I'm just going to run down through some of these because some of them are kind of just so ancillary villains, they're not even really worth discussing too much. Yeah. But Steve, what did you think of Shriek?
I would say he was more of a Mr. Freeze-ish villain, being that Freeze had like the ice, and then this guy's got the sound. Projectiles, and he kind of fills, because he's got the special suit and everything else, he kind of fills that void Mr. Freeze would have had. Yeah. Should he have actually continued through Beyond. But I do like this character because he's not your average villain. He's more of a different type of villain than what you saw in the original Batman. So I mean, it's nice to see a fresh, destructive villain, just for the hell of it.
Yeah. Bombshell, who was a member of the infamous Brain Trust. Oh god, I hated those episodes. Repeller, who is the supervillain who acquired experimental suit that could repel matter, making him invulnerable to almost any type of damage. Eventually, it was revealed that the villain was actually Dr. Suzuki, a man who was developing technology for Wayne Powers. Who cares? I know Armory technically did commit a crime, but I don't see him as a villain. I see him more as an anti-hero. Who is Jim Tate? He's a brilliant weapons designer working for a large defense contractor who is also the father of one of Terry's friends. Oh God. Rat Boy. Do we need to say more?
No.
I mean, really?
They had really. Rat Boy already in Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
Yeah. Peak. Oh, yeah. Ian Peak. This was very interesting to me, this Invisibelt that he used. Of course, it eventually made him fall forever.
Oh, yeah.
But Ian Peak was a really, really cool villain. And then Spellbinder was another one.
I love Spellbinder.
Spellbinder's cool.
Yeah, Spellbinder is like the new Scarecrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The only good thing about Stalker was that he was voiced by John Jones, a.k.a. Carl Lumley.
I kind of like Stalker. I don't love him, but I think he's okay.
But, see, I wish, and again, this is coming from Wikipedia, all this information, so it's Wikipedia, take it with a grain of salt, but I don't see, yes, Stalker, he's after Batman, he's after the true hunt, but some of these villains, like Stalker and Ian Peak, they're not really actual villains. I mean,
Stalker's kind of like Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then you have Curare, who is a member of the Society of Assassins.
She is awesome.
She is badass.
Yes.
She put that sword right through his legs. She did, because she took it right out from the middle of his legs.
I love the episode where they're fighting in a museum, and Terry, he flips his wrists down and starts firing bat discs at her rapid fire like a machine gun, and she starts blocking them all. First off, it's awesome because Terry is firing like hundreds of bat discs like a machine gun, but then Curare has her Samurai Jack sword, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have anything you want to say about Curare, Steve?
Just that she's a badass assassin.
Yeah, I want one of those swords. Those swords are cool.
You poke your eye out.
The most comedic villain of all, but yet the most dangerous, Mad Stan. Mad Stan was awesome.
Mad Stan.
Mad Stan was their chance to put in some sort of political villain, because he is rabidly anti-government terrorist who rebels against what he sees as corrupt system. His solution to any given problem is to blow it up. As such, is an expert and explosive, and he is voiced and resembles by Henry Rollins. That's Mad Stan is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you have to say.
Meh.
Mad Stan is awesome. And then, of course, we're not going to go too much into this because we've kind of already talked to him a little bit more, and we're going to talk about more later in Legends of the Dark Knight, the Joker.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Who returned in Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. In this incarnation of the Joker implants a copy of his DNA and personality in Tim Drake.
Creepy.
Yeah, creepy. Exactly.
But he was Joker Jr.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, how would they miss a microchip on the back of his head that has a smiley face?
You know, I always kind of assumed that it was actually like hidden under his skin or like in his flesh, but once he turned into the Joker, it was exposed. I don't know why I thought that,
but... It was a mole.
It was a mole on the Joker, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, yes, that is the price I have to pay.
Yeah. And then Mr. Freeze does come back, who is the tragic villain, lives on in nothing but immortal head preserved by Derek Bowers. He is used as a test that... Yeah, exactly, I know it. I would have liked if the Mr. Freeze episode here in Batman Beyond would have actually given him a happy ending.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the whole point... Go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, poor guy. He suffered, like, for decades and decades, like, since the original Batman's era. And then he's sitting here suffering all the way through and just can't catch a break. And, you know, his wife is pretty much dead.
Well, no, she left him. Well, I'm sure by this point she's gone, but... And I believe she is, because I believe he goes to her grave. But... Mm-hmm. The whole thing, as far as continuity-wise, when he comes back in the new Batman Adventures as the Spiderhead back then, she actually left him after it was revealed that she recovered. From Sub-Zero, Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero.
Right.
At the end of that movie, it says that she recovered. Later on in the new Adventures, I believe somewhere down the line, he says that she didn't like what he had become, so she left him. So he spent all this time. So I can kind of see why Mr. Freeze, after that happens, I can see why he's not so much of a sympathetic villain anymore. But still, in this specific episode that they used him in, I kind of wanted him. I saw him as moving on. He was starting anew, and I kind of wanted him to get a really, really good send off. But no, that didn't happen.
Well, his body deteriorated, and he had one final battle.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much let Batman get away.
I'm trying to remember how it happened. Didn't he? How did he die precisely?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
He didn't die.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what happened.
I think he got encased in ice, and I think a building collapsed on him.
Well, I think, if I remember correctly, wasn't he trying to, stop a building from collapsing?
Right,
He used his freeze powers. So in the end, I think he didn't, redeem himself exactly, but he kind of died a hero in some sense, which I thought was a decent way, because I thought Mr. Freeze, in a weird way, he always had the potential to be a really noble character. Because when he wanted to be, he could be a noble character. I mean, even in his first appearance in Heart of Ice, it's he's doing immoral things, but at the same time, it's almost like he's fighting evil people, and he has a legitimate grievance. So I didn't hate the way he went out, and it was ambiguous enough that even though it was probably his final end, you can always say, maybe he survived, maybe, So it didn't bother me.
But he did save Batman, and kept Batman from saving him.
Right.
So that Batman wouldn't die in the explosion with Freeze.
Yeah. That's right.
Because the new Batman is the only one that cared about him.
Yeah, Terry was the only one that really cared. Bruce was like, oh, it's the same old Freeze. The next character, extremely, extremely creepy.
Oh.
Extremely creepy with what happens in Batman Beyond with this character.
Yeah.
Before this, wasn't so creepy. After this, very fucking creepy.
Well, he was always creepy with his daughter, if you go back and watch.
Well, yeah, but...
He was creepy with his son, too.
Okay, let's not go there. Ra's al Ghul made a return in the episode Out of the Past, living on by possessing his daughter, Talia's body, effectively ending her life, and seemingly immortal Ra's attempts to take over Bruce Wayne's body and gain control of Wayne Enterprises as a means of revenge against his former foe. Voiced once again by the incomparable David Warner, and Olivia Hussey was the voice of Talia in this. That's just creepy. And you guys are going to have to go onto YouTube or somewhere or go back and look at your Batman Beyond DVDs and watch the episode Out of the Past.
You have to see it.
You have to see this episode because this episode is creepy as all hell.
Well, I mean, it's a great episode no matter what. Yeah.
Wait, what, Steve?
I said you get to see a young Bruce.
Yeah, you do get to see a young Bruce, and that's great and all, but specifically speaking of Ra's, creepy as all hell.
Well, I think they play it off as funny just enough that it's not so creepy that you can define it as a literal creepy episode. I mean, they make light of it. It's creepy, but it's creepy.
Right. No. I know they make light of it, but I'm sorry. Any woman, no, seriously, any woman that looks like the way Talia looks in this episode that kisses me or kisses someone and then has David Warner's voice, that's gonna freak somebody the fuck out.
Well, and see, this is the other thing, though. Terry says something to Bruce. He's like, oh, that lady's kind of freaky. And then he's like, yeah, well, she kissed me.
You know?
Yeah.
I know. They do make light of it. They don't go the creepy route, but just watching it, it's so creepy to me.
Well, you know, I was looking back at the first ever, Ra's episodes, the Demon's Head Part 1 and 2, and honestly, there was always some weird stuff between Ra's and Talia and all that. The fact that this guy has his daughter in that weird, sex outfit, and, he's, offering her to this guy, Batman, hey, you can marry her and have children, and it's and, she's not at all embarrassed to be like that in front of her dad, and she's like, oh, yes, and it's
creepy, yes.
Yeah.
Again, this is going to be one of those times where I'm just going to run down most of these other ones. Some of them are good, some of them are kind of forgettable, because we're kind of running long on the character section here. You have Dr. Abel Cuvier, I think, yeah, that's how they say it. This was the guy that was splicing, the one that first started the splicing stuff. I didn't really care for him.
Me neither.
Bane is awesome. Any incarnation except for Batman and Robin, Bane is awesome.
Yep.
Chappelle, I don't even really...
Oh, he's the new guy.
The slapper patches.
Yeah, he's Bane's. Yeah. He's Bane's man.
That's right. That sounded so wrong. That sounded so wrong.
I apologize.
Sounded so wrong. Considering that, Bane was badass in Batman the Animated Series. In this, Chappelle is technically the new Bane, like now we can say, because when we see Bane, he's old. He's at least 30 years older than Bruce. I mean, this guy kind of looks like Mordred from Night of Shadows.
Well, he's not actually old. It's just that the venom devastated his body. Don't do venom, kids.
Yeah, stay away from the venom.
He was probably the same age as Bruce originally.
Yeah, probably.
Combined with the age and the using of the venom, it just took everything out of him.
Yep. There were a lot of don't do drugs episodes of this show.
Yeah, There were
Don't splice animals. Don't do slapper patches. Don't do.
Well,
don't do.
The
Joker.
splicing thing was altering your DNA. That I guess splicing could technically
It's like tattoos, only with drugs and changing your body and.
Oof. Just say no, kids. The only reason why I'm going to bring up Charlie Big Time Bigelow is because I didn't know this at the time, but he was voiced by two different people. He was voiced, before his mutation, he was voiced by Stephen Baldwin, who is probably the only Baldwin brother I actually like in anything that he does. And then, post-mutation, he was voiced by the incomparable Clancy Brown.
I didn't know that.
Very cool. The Royal Flush Gang, a crime family of 5 members, the husband, wife, Mr. and Mrs. Walker as King and Queen. King was voiced by none other than the one-time film James Bond, George Lazenby. Very cool. Queen was voiced by Amanda Donahue and later Sarah Douglas. Their daughter, 10, Melanie Walker, voiced by Olivia Diabo, who I believe was also a Bond girl at one point or another. So you have 2 James Bond connections there. Their son, Jack, was voiced by Scott Cleaverden and later Nicholas Guest. Why does that name look familiar? I have to click on his name to see what the hell else he's done.
That is familiar.
He's in Cowboy Bebop as far as anime roles. He was in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited as a couple of ancillary characters.
Yeah.
Sons of Anarchy live action. Oh, he was Taylor in Power Rangers Time Force.
Oh, that's it.
Let's see. He was in Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. He was a cadet in that. Christmas Vacation. Oh, that's where I remember him from. He was Todd Chester, Clark Griswold's next door neighbor in Christmas Vacation. Come on, Steve. I know you know who I'm talking about. Elaine's husband in Christmas Vacation, Todd.
I vaguely know. I know who you're talking about, but I can't picture the face.
He's kind of like a Bruce Wayne lookalike. He's white. He's got black hair. And in Christmas Vacation, he wore a jumpsuit and glasses.
Mm.
He was the one that fell down the stairs in their apartment. I know who he is now. I knew I recognized that name. And then you had Ace, who was an android and never had a voice actor. Willie Watt. Actually, before we get into Willie, let's talk about 10, Nightwing.
Yeah, I like 10.
I think everybody likes 10. But technically, Terry is... he's not an adulterer. He's a cheater. Even though he and Dana were broken up at the time, it's like, wow, he's just going to jump right into a rebound relationship.
Well, I don't know. He's like 16, 17. Whatever. And it's 10, man. If she went in, you'd totally be like, all right.
Yeah, that's true. You have any thoughts on the Royal Flush Gang at all, Steve?
Other than 10, didn't really like them.
I mean, I like the look of them. I like how they are uniformed, and I do like the voicing of King for George Lazenby as King. I thought that was really well done. But yeah, I mean, 10 is obviously the main character out of that group. And then Willie Watt, who is a nerd at Hamilton Hill High School, who seeks revenge on his classmates. He was voiced by Scott McAfee. Willie, I don't know. Willie was one of... Okay, well, there you go. I gotta be careful, though, because even though Willie does have a father, Willie looks like a nerdy Bruce Wayne. They use that white boy black hair motif a lot in this series.
I guess that's true.
Bruce's DNA was easily enough to obtain. He left it all over town. And then I had mentioned this guy earlier, Terminal, who was the popular student at Hamilton Hills High School, obsessed with being the best. He led a gang of jokers in an attempt to kill Maxine Gibson, whom was going to be valedictorian instead of him, and he was voiced by Michael Rosenbaum.
Ah.
Yes. getting into the production stuff really quick. We're going to take a break after this. Basically, the series was directed by Butch Lukic, I can't say his last name. Dan Reba,
Lukic?
Kurt Gaeta. Yes?
I think it's Lukic.
Lukic, I think that's what it is too, I don't know. Dan Reba, Kurt Gaeta, James Tucker. Writers were Stan Berkowitz, Hilary Bader, Alan Burnett, Paul Dini, Rich Fogel, Neil Adams, Gardner Fox, Bob Kane, Jerry Robinson, just a whole bunch of really, really great writers. So, I think we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with some of our favorite episodes from Batman Beyond.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman. Batman.
Batman.
There is a song the good folks sing.
Song the good folks sing.
Batman. About a hero on the wing.
Hero on the wing. Batman.
I am Gotham's darkest night. The villain's darkest fright. Turn on the signal light for Batman. Batman.
Good work, Cape Crusader. Once again, you've saved our fair city from those vile miscreants.
They were no problem, Commissioner. For as we all know, criminals are a superstitious, cowardly lot. They plan and plot, but they always get caught. Their evil schemes all come to naught. A superstitious, cowardly lot. A superstitious, cowardly lot. They plan and plot, but they always get caught. Their evil schemes all come to naught.
Can't Kevin Conroy really sing? That was a really, really good rendition of Superstitious and Cowardly Lot. Yes, we're going to get into the actual show now. As I said, the pilot episode begins in 2019, where an aging Batman equipped with a high-tech batsuit takes on the kidnappers of Bunny Vreeland, the daughter of Veronica Vreeland, one of Bruce Wayne's many girlfriends. Was Veronica actually his girlfriend at one point?
I think she always kind of liked him, but he kept her as a friend. I don't know if they were officially ever dating.
Yeah. During the battle, Batman suffers a heart attack which leaves him unable to fight, forcing him to betray a lifelong principle by threatening a criminal with a gun. By this point, Bruce Wayne's assistants, Alfred Pennyworth and Lucius Fox, have both passed away, and as a result, Bruce Wayne retires the Batman persona. It is implied by virtue of his lengthy career as Batman as retaining the Robin, Nightwing, and Batgirl costumes that tragic occurrence had inspired that caused Bruce to sever his ties with the Justice League and forbid his allies to assume their alter egos. Events which caused all of this are revealed in Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. So that's the introduction to the show, and then of course we have Terry coming in, and the Jokers chase him onto Bruce's property. Old Bruce pretty much kicks the Joker's asses fairly well. And then Terry steals the suit, and we've kind of already really talked about Terry's story, but yeah, this is specifically Terry's story more than it is Bruce's now. Basically what we're going to do here is we're going to go around the table. Each of us are going to pick 5 favorite episodes. Nightwing, why don't you start? What is your number 5 favorite episode?
Alright, my number 5 is going to be The Call, Parts 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. It's the episode that actually introduces the Justice League to the DCAU for the first time as the Justice League Unlimited. It's got a great plot twist with Superman being actually mind-controlled by the evil alien Starro as an evil Superman. So there's some great stuff in there. It's not an amazing episode, but it's fun. I like it a lot, and it ties in with the Justice League series later. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Yes. Steve, what is your number 5 for Batman Beyond?
I would probably say I don't really have a particular order for any of them.
Okay.
But I would probably say The Rebirth.
Okay.
Because it's just it shows some of what happened between the animated series and beyond. I mean, granted, it's probably only about like 15, 20 years after, the new adventures.
Right.
But still, it shows, Bruce somewhat able to take care of himself, except for the fact he had to grab a gun. So it was kind of nice seeing, two different versions of old Bruce, and one of which being in the Batsuit itself before Terry took over.
Yeah. My number 5 is probably going to be April Moon.
Hmm?
Hi, Tim Taylor. My number 5 is April Moon because it was such an interesting episode to me with these new kind of splicers, but they were machine splicers because they were medical implants. And the doctor was under the impression that this gang had kidnapped his wife April, and or his fiance or whatever she was. And this doctor is fairly old, and April is fairly young. So again, it's one of those 20, 30-year difference relationships, which there's nothing wrong with that for the most part, unless it's really creepy, like Talia and Raish. But anyway, April Moon. One of the reasons why I really loved it was because to deactivate this gang, it was voice activated. It was a certain phrase. And the phrase was April Moon based off the song. I don't know. It was one of those episodes that I kept, you know how when stuff is in syndication on TV, sometimes you would catch, every episode you would catch would be the exact same episode. I've seen the April Moon episode so many times that, I don't know, it kind of grew on me. What's your number 4, Nightwing?
My number 4 is going to be Out of the Past. We talked about that already, where Talia and Raish come back in the same body.
Yeah.
Hilarity ensues.
Yes. Yes. And it's also Bruce's birthday at the beginning of that episode.
Oh, yeah. And it establishes that he is 80 years old, so...
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a cool little note. Also, that episode has the Batman the Animated Series theme play with electric guitar, which is hilarious and awesome.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Steve, what is your number 4?
I would have to agree with what Nightwing just said with Out of the Past.
Out of the Past?
Yes. I just like that episode, and I like the fact that you get Bruce a little bit younger so that he can fight with Terry against Raish / Talia al Ghul.
Right. My number 4 is going to be a touch of Curari. For the simple fact that it was an awesome episode. She is an awesome villain for Terry Bat to face. And I really love the voicing with Stockard Channing and Paul Winfield as Barbara and DA Sam Young. I really liked that episode, and that was a really, really cool episode, I thought. So that's my number 4. What about your number 3, Nightwing?
Let's see. My number 3 is going to be, let's see, which one is it? Dead Man's Hand, the first one with the Royal Flush Gang. In the first season, aside from, I want to say, Rebirth, it's the only episode, I think, that really has very much real depth of character for Terry specifically, but, it deals with, Terry gets dumped by Dana, and then he meets Ten, and he has a very sort of, Catwoman-like romance with her where, she's sort of the hot, strange girl, and they basically just fall in love as teenagers, and they even have that cheesy, teen romance music when they meet under the clock tower at night. And, and then they reference Selena Kyle very obviously at the end, and...
Oh, yeah.
I like it a lot. You know, I like the Royal Flush Gang. I don't love them in all their appearances, all 2 of them, I guess, but I like 10 a lot, and I like this episode for what it does for Terry as a character. So I'll go with that one.
What about you for number 3, Steve?
I would have to say Meltdown, and that's because I liked the introduction of and demise of Mr. Freeze being in the episode.
Yeah.
It was like 2 different generations of villains fighting to the death with Batman as, pretty much a bystander.
Yep. For me, for number 3, I think I'm going to go with Shriek. Again, just purely for the sound design that episode had. It's not an overall really, it's not like a Out of the Past or anything like that. But it was very, very interesting. What about your number 2, Nightwing?
Can I cheat and say Return of the Joker?
No.
Dang
The
it.
Joker is not an episode.
Dang it. I think it was an episode.
We're specifically talking about the series. We're not talking about...
Fine.
We're talking about the 3 seasons.
All right. Now I have to think even harder because I totally hadn't thought this far. Okay, I'm going to say A Touch of Curare, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, actually, no. I take that back. It's the second episode with her. The one where she comes back. It's where
Inkling.
the League of Yeah. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. That's the one where the League of Assassins has burned her and she's...
Oh, no. Oh, okay, yeah, no. That's, no. I was thinking of Ink and Ink's daughter. Never mind. No, that's...
Oh, okay.
Which one is that? That's, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm looking for it now. What is it called? Final Cut.
Final Cut. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that one. First off, they call it the League of Assassins, not the League of Shadows. It gets points for that. That's awesome. And yeah, that's the one where she's on the run and she's hunting down people, and I like that one a lot. So that's my number 2.
And Steve, what's your number 2?
My number 2 would be Disappearing Ink, and that's because not only is Ink just pretty much vengeful against Batman and Bruce, of course, because she knows that there's a crazy old man that's behind the wall, and everything. I just love when Bruce gets into the fight to save Terry, and he comes in there and Ink's coming to clobber him in the face, and then all of a sudden this massive bat suit just encases his body.
Oh yeah, the big old bat suit. Yeah, I remember that now.
Which puts a strain on his heart, but he is such a badass with that suit.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
My number 2, and it's actually funny, I didn't think of this until we went through through doing this. I was like, well, how am I going to think of all these episodes? Oh wait, I can go to the Legends of Dark Knight schedule because they're all listed on the Legends of the Dark Knight podcast schedule. My number 2 actually is Out of the Past. For all the reasons we mentioned earlier. Specifically for me, one of the reasons why I absolutely love that episode is you have Christopher McDonald voicing the adults, the older Superman, which Shooter McGavin, a.k.a. Christopher McDonald, voiced Jor-El in Superman the Animated Series. And plus you have that Christopher Carter did this really, really dark undertone of the Superman the Animated Series theme as Superman is hover chasing Terry Bat. And like Nightwing said in one of the previous takes of this clip, how fast does this thing go? Mach 3. Is that faster than a speeding bullet?
Yes. I love that so much.
That's one of the best lines. So yeah, my number 2 is
The Call.
Wasn't I talking? Wait, what the hell was I talking about?
The Call.
Did I say The Call was my number 2?
No, you said Out of the Past, but
shit.
You talked about The Call.
Yeah. number 2 is the call. Let's
got it.
Go with that.
We knew what you meant.
Fucking hell. All right, so Nightwing, what's your number 1 favorite episode from the series?
Without a doubt, it has to be Rebirth. I think that episode, it's by far the most character-driven, deep, realistic episode of the entire series. It takes a lot of cues from a lot of different science fiction movies and novels and graphic novels. Movies like Blade Runner. You've got stormtroopers from Star Wars basically running around. You've got all sorts of stuff, and it blends it together so well, and it gets the message across that this is a dark Gotham. It feels like a real place, even though it's animated. You get the sense that this is a really real place and not a great place to be, and it gives you a really great sense of Bruce Wayne's character journey. You can totally see how he's progressed from Batman the Animated Series into this older, grimmer character. And it introduces Terry. It makes Terry. I mean, he's a teenager who is whining about his life and has problems. Yet he doesn't come across as whiny or annoying. He comes across as being actually rather likable. He's not weak. He's actually very tough. He's a good fighter. It makes sense that he could be a young superhero, and he has they introduce the dynamic between him and Bruce to great effect in this episode. It shows so many things. It really personifies the entire series right from the start, and I think it's a shame that we didn't get another episode as good as this, in my opinion anyway, later. I think the movie definitely was about this level of quality, but I think this together with Return of the Joker definitely solidified Terry McGinnis as an absolutely appropriate and he is the successor to Bruce Wayne, if there ever could be one, other than probably Dick Grayson. But I really think this does a great job of showing him as his own Batman. So I love it.
Yeah, very cool. And Steve, what is your number 1?
I'm gonna kind of cheat.
If you cannot say Return of the Joker, it's not part of the series.
I'm not. I'm taking Epilogue.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Because technically, it's still the end of Batman Beyond, and
it
doesn't really feature any JLU. So.
I agree.
So I take that because, for the most part, it pretty much ties up the remaining gap left by the end of Beyond and all the other DCAU, and it shows how everything became full circle with what's her face, Amanda Waller revealing to Terry, who's now appears to be like in his 30s, about everything that's transpired over the last 30 years, and why she felt there had to be another Batman, and just everything in general leading up to his rise and continuation of Bruce's legacy.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly, and I'm actually going to cheat more because it's my show and I can do what the hell I want. My number 1 is a 3-way tie. Rebirth, Out of the Past, and Epilogue.
Okay.
For all the reasons we've already said.
Fine, then I'm cheating too, and I put
you can't use Return of the Joker. You cannot. You cannot use Return of the Joker. It is
you
not.
You can't do a 3-way tie.
Yes, I can.
I call bullshit.
It's my fucking show. I
don't care. I call bullshit. I can choose Return of the Joker.
Okay, Return of the Joker. It's awesome. I'm not saying it's not awesome, but it is not a part of the actual 3-season series. It is a separate film taking on a Batman Beyond story. It doesn't fit within the season continuity. It doesn't.
Are you saying it's not in continuity?
No, I'm not saying it's not in continuity. I'm saying it doesn't fit within the season continuity because they actually made Return of the Joker in between the 2nd and 3rd season of the television series. So while the events of Return of the Joker fit within the overall continuity, you cannot lump it as a favorite episode of the television series because it was a direct-to-DVD movie.
I'm with Steve on this one. I think you're wrong.
Well, you're both wrong.
Well, I call bullshit and bullshit on your three-way tie.
You can't do that. It's my show.
I don't care. I can say whatever I feel.
It's a three-way.
Shut up.
Mike has a three-way with Batman, so...
Well, that's... I'd rather have a three-way with Batman than fuck Barney all day long.
Okay, go have fun at Arby's, McDonald's, and the bank with your Batman episode.
Anyways, let's not drag this down. So we are going to move on to the music segment. I'm going to have Steve put in maybe 2 songs from the actual soundtrack of Batman Beyond. I'm not sure exactly which song I'm going to have him put in, but yeah, you're going to hear some music, and we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about the actual music. We'll be back after this. Yes, that was some epic music, and
It was amazing.
Yes, it was. The series music was mainly done by Christopher Carter, also done by Michael McQuistion, Lolita Romanis, and Shirley Walker. She passed away in 2006, so it was after that. There is a soundtrack, which is very cool. Unfortunately, it is a Rhino soundtrack, but it's still, it doesn't really have all the Rhino, stuff. All the Rhino crap that Rhino puts in there and stuff that they get, but the soundtrack has 20 tracks. Very, very, very cool. A lot of great songs. A lot of great instrumentals. What did you guys think about the music, Steve?
I like the techno sounds.
Yes.
Overall.
Yeah. What about you, Nightwing?
I love this show's music so much. I wish my life were narrated to rock music like this. It'd be so much more awesome. Seriously, I love the fact that they used this sort of like, this sort of like electric guitar, rock music to sort of set the tone for this kind of cyberpunk future. I think it's weird because it's modern yet it feels futuristic, and I love it. I think it's totally fitting, and it's awesome.
Yes. Moving into the legacy segment, it's actually Batman Beyond the show was nominated for 4 Daytime Emmy Awards, one of which it won in 2001. I believe it won for the sound stuff on the Shriek episode. In addition, the show was nominated for 5 Annie Awards and won 2 of those nominations in 1999 and 2001. In 2009, IGN.com named Batman Beyond the 40th best animated television series of all time. Screw you guys.
Incoming rant.
No, there's not going to be a rant. Just go over to geekcastradio.com later this week or next week, and you'll hear our top 100 animated series list of all time. As far as the influence, the supervillain Stalker was to have appeared in the Zeta Project episode Taffy Time, but didn't make it. The second season episode Rose Gift has an appearance made by the Brain Trust from Batman Beyond. Some post-series crossovers in the third season of Batman Beyond 2-part story entitled The Call. We've talked about that already. Justice League Unlimited revisited the world of Batman Beyond in 2005 with the Once and Future Thing. The Once and Future Thing 2-parter was awesome. First of all, the Once and Future Thing 2-parter is Justice League Unlimited's version of Back to the Future. It honestly is.
That's true. I hadn't thought about it.
You go back to 1885 or 1887 or whatever the date was in the actual episode, and then you go ahead to 2015 or 2040 or whatever. You know what I mean? It's one of those things.
Well, they did it wrong, though, because they did Back to the Future 2 and 3, but not 1. They should have had Bruce go back and had to, get his parents together at their dance.
No.
That would have been awesome.
No. And I love David Clinton in that. When he shows up at the Watchtower, he's like, "Why?" Green Lantern's like, "Why are you trying to steal Batman's chili belt? You're not supposed to see me. You're not supposed to know I'm here. How do you know that I'm here?" Well, it's the freaking Watchtower, you dumbass. It has alarms. Epilogue, which is set 15, huh? Oh, I thought you guys said so. Set 15 years after the conclusion of Batman Beyond, Epilogue reveals that Bruce Wayne is actually Terry McGinnis' biological father. Episode is told largely through flashback sequences. Let's see, what are the other crossovers? It had a crossover Future Shock, which I watched earlier today. Very, very cool. That was the only real. And there's actually a DC comic tie-in. Now, I've heard that the comic isn't that great.
It's not.
Who is writing the comic? Let's see. The 6-issue limited series, March 1999. Batman Beyond had its own comic book series running through November 1999 until October 2001 for a total of 24 issues, set in the same world of the show and aimed at younger readers. Originally, Batman Beyond number 3, the monthly series, was to focus on the terrific trio from the episode Heroes. Oh Lord, we don't need anything to focus on the terrific trio, or the terrible trio, or whatever. Very, very cool. What isn't real, I don't know about those older comics, but what I've heard isn't really good is the mini series in 2010 that launched last year.
There's an ongoing series now.
Yeah.
Same creative team, too. And the author, I'm trying to remember his name. I'm trying to forget his name, actually, but, what is his name? I'm feeling terrible. I can't remember it.
Dan
Whatever.
DiDio.
No, not Dan DiDio. It's the other guy. Adam Beecham.
Adam Beecham, yeah.
He is known as the guy who, ruined the Cassandra Cain Batgirl series.
Wow.
He's not a good writer. He's kind of the guy they bring in when they don't really know what to do with something. They're just like, let's give it to Beecham. And the fans whine. But they're buying this book because right now it's the only currently released Batman Beyond anything. So if you want Terry McGinnis, you have to buy that book. And if you don't like it, then, you're screwed. And so, yeah, it's getting sales because it's the popular character, but it's not a good book.
Yeah. It does have DVD releases. All 3 seasons are on individual DVD sets, which at this point I'm not sure, but in 2010, last year, we had Batman Beyond the Complete Series was released on November 23rd last year. This, along with Batman the Complete Animated Series, is a limited run item, so you better go get it now. As far as the Complete Series box set, I actually have it, and I gotta say, while I'm liking that it does compile all 3 seasons into one box set, and it is the exact same thing, it just has another bonus disc. Actually, the Batman Beyond Complete Series bonus disc actually has the most special features out of all the Complete Series DCAU bonus discs. It has like 3 individual features specific to Batman Beyond. Whereas the other, like BTAS and Justice League, they only have like 1 feature for each of those series. I would snatch it up now before it starts going for outrageous prices. And don't buy it off eBay or you'll have another Steve problem with wrong writing. I think Steve's mad at me still. Anyway. Is Steve even here? Wake up, Steve. Yes, there's also DVDs for Batman Beyond the movie, Batman Beyond School Days and just individual stuff, like individual episode stuff. Then you have Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, the edited version. And then you have Batman Beyond the Return of the Joker, the original uncut version. I actually like both versions.
Yeah, I saw the cut version first, and I didn't feel like I missed very much. I eventually got the uncut version, which I think is probably better.
Oh, it is.
It's not so much that, like, you're getting a horrible, it's not so bad. Like, if you watch the cut version, it's not going to ruin your experience. It's a couple little lines here and there and a few little changes. I guess the Joker's death is different, yeah. But, it's nothing that's going to ruin the movie.
Yeah, no. Now, here's where you can do thoughts on Return of the Joker, Steve.
What?
Oh. He's not even paying attention, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, so, yes. And then, Return of the Joker. There are also plans, I cannot believe I'm reading this, but there were also planned Batman Beyond live-action feature to be written by Paul Dini. However, Warner Brothers shelved the project and eventually went with Batman Begins concept instead. In August 2000, Warner Brothers announced that it was developing a live-action film adaptation of the TV series Batman Beyond. With Boz Yaskin attached to co-write and direct, the TV series creators Paul Dini and Alan Burnett were hired to write a screenplay for the feature film, with the author Neil Stephenson consulting the duo. By July 2001, the first draft was turned into the studio, and the writers were waiting to see if a rewrite would be needed. The studio, also exploring other takes of Batman in development, eventually placed Batman Beyond on hold in August 2001. So, we could possibly get a Batman Beyond movie one of these days.
I hope so. It'll happen one day. It could be in like 20 years, but it'll happen one day.
Well, I mean, after, Christian Bale has his Dark Knight Rising on Anne Hathaway. Sorry, I had to put that in there. Christopher Nolan said that he's moving on after that's, that movie is said. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing a Batman Beyond live action feature. They would have to do it right.
Get Will Friedle to play Batman, and then get Michael Keaton to play old Batman.
No, who'd be awesome as old Bruce would be, oh, crud, I'm forgetting his name now. Commander Adama from the new BSG. Edward James Olmos.
Oh, yeah. That would be really interesting, actually.
Because he plays like the gruff Bruce on BSG, and it's awesome.
That would be very interesting. All right, so we are going to take a final quick break. You're going to hear some ads and all that good stuff, and then we're going to come back with our final thoughts. And we're going to finally end this show. Wow, this has been a long one.
ToonCast will be back after these messages.
Hey guys, this is Optimus Solo from the GeekCast Radio Network, and I was thinking the other day that maybe I've been too hard on the folks over at IGN. I mean, they had to put some effort into their top 100 animated series of all time list, right? I mean, maybe it's just me that wants to punch a baby when I read it. So in all fairness, I thought we should gather some of the people who were involved with this list and get their opinions. So what do you guys think about the IGN list?
I didn't think it was physically possible, but this both sucks and blows.
Okay, anyone else?
Dumb. Those dudes are so dumb.
I'm afraid to ask, but anyone else?
Epic fail.
Homer, they put your show at the top of your list. You gotta like their list, right?
I stand by my disappointed groan.
So I guess we should do something about it then.
Are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I am, Brain. I think we should unveil the GeekCast Radio Network's top 100 animated series of all time list.
I second that emotion.
And I know that our list will be much better than the IGN list. Do you know why?
We watch a lot of TV.
That and the fact that we are teaming up with This Week in Geek, the Pop Culture Network, Chicken Pop Pod, and some other great geek sites.
By your powers combined,
we will give you a list geeks everywhere can be proud of.
This is Dr. Wily, and I will destroy Mega Man while listening to ToonCast!
This is Megatron, leader of the Predacons. And if you're hearing this, it means the Beast Unleashed podcast is now over. Yes. In the Beast Unleashed, myself, Steve Megatron Phillips, Pecan Court Michael Wilson, and TFG1 Mike review Beast Wars and Beast Machines in the very first podcast of its kind. Yes. In the podcast, we interview voice actors, writers from the show, and talk in-depth trivia between everything in between. So, if you're interested, you can tune in to the now finished Beast Unleashed podcast over on GeekCastRadio.com. Ha 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 ha. Excellent! Yes!
Hey guys, Raphael here of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Did you say podcast? Dudettes! You're listening to the podcast on the GeekCast Radio Network. Cowabunga!
Do you like retro shows? Did you grow up in either the 80s or the 90s? Then tune into Telecast, GeekCastRadio.com's newest podcast. Join us here on the Telecast as we revisit some of your favorite shows, such as Clarissa Explains It All, Salute Your Shorts, Saved by the Bell, and much, much more, only on GeekCastRadio.com.
Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight. I see a new episode of ToonCast coming this week.
Welcome to a collaboration between the GeekCast Radio Network and the Pop Culture Network. This is From the Command Center, the podcast. I am your host, TFG1 Mike from the GCRN, and joining me is Zordon himself. Scotty Cash.
That's right, Scotty Cash from the Pop Culture Network, and today we're introducing you to the audio version of From the Command Center, the podcast that will entail our intake on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the episodes, the seasons, and all that other good stuff.
Now back to ToonCast.
So, quickly, final thoughts on Batman Beyond and Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. Steve, what are your final thoughts on the actual television series?
Overall, really good. Definitely something to pick up if you're into Batman or the DCAU. Pretty much it's a win-win, even with the few throwaways that are in there, based on the writing and consistency throughout the entire DCAU.
Yes. And Return of the Joker, really quick, Steve?
That would by far have to be my favorite Bat film ever, just because of how dark it actually is. My only thing that I wish is that they would have actually shown, like they did in the animatic that's on the disc, where Bruce is going through the basic old catacombs of old Arkham, and you see the doors of like the Riddler, Poison Ivy,
yeah,
and then you see the Joker hanging from the ceiling.
I think it was just cut for time, though. It wasn't like intentionally, put on the cutting room floor. It was probably cut for pacing.
I wish that they would have had that, and the sad thing is the Joker's body actually makes a reoccurrence in an episode of Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
Like his dead skeletal body wearing his purple jumpsuit. It's actually in an episode when they initiate new Joker.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And Nightwing, what are your final thoughts on the series and Return of the Joker?
Man, this series, I think, I feel like it kind of defines some of my comic fandom, kind of like Superman the Animated Series does. Even though I didn't watch it that much when I was a kid, I kind of grew up with it anyway, and, I kind of feel like, I care about Terry McGinnis and this story, and, I think it's one of the most original, unique, and really most powerful and interesting ideas to come out of superhero animation. So, I think it's a great show. You should totally check it out. Return of the Joker is a great, great movie. It's definitely one of the best Bat films ever made. It might be my favorite as well, actually. Narrowly beating out Mask of the Phantasm and The Dark Knight, probably. It's so much fun. I'm a sci-fi fan, so, if it's sci-fi, it gets a little bit of an edge. I'll echo everything that Steve said, and it's great.
Yeah. For me, the entire series was just awesome. Yes, there are a number of throwaway episodes. I mean, they're a good chunk of throwaway episodes, but they're also, out of the 52 episodes, there's also a lot of really, really good episodes as well. As far as Return of the Joker, one of the things that I absolutely love that they showed off was the differences between Terry and Bruce. Because in that final Joker battle, he's like, "You got any suggestions, boss? Power on through and, don't talk. Joker likes to talk. Just power on through and you'll beat him." And Terry's like, "Wait, I like to talk too."
Yeah.
So it shows you a difference, even though eventually later on we will find out that obviously Terry is Bruce's son. It shows you the differences between the two of them. Like Amanda Waller.
Oh man, okay. Terry's laugh, his Joker laugh, is so creepy.
I know.
So creepy. It's awesome.
Yeah, I know. Oh man. Yeah, it is. So thank you for joining us here on ToonCast. There are several ways to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com. Leave the show's feedback in iTunes. Please do this. As of this recording, we have no new feedback, so that's why I'm not reading any iTunes reviews. You can follow us on Twitter. The username there is GCRN ToonCast, all one word. Mine is TFG1 Mike. Aaron, what is your Twitter?
Mine is Super Aaron Man. That's SuperAaronMan.
Mm-hmm. And Steve, what's your Twitter?
SCP-21.
Yes. Become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Geekcast Radio Network. Call the voicemail line. Tell us the show you're leaving a message for and your name. 502-526-5821. Just a note on the voicemail line. If you are calling to leave any voicemails for Superman the Animated Series or any of the other DCAU stuff outside of Batman the Animated Series, please do so. Like, if you call in after we release an episode, we will play all final call-ins during episode 100 of ToonCast. Make sure you call in before, call in by April 6th. If we don't get to a voicemail between now and episode 99, we will get to it in episode 100 because we kind of want to put a final stamp on this incarnation of ToonCast. We hope you enjoyed this episode and wish you'll join us next time when we will be continuing the DCAU Spotlight with the Batman Beyond spin-off, The Zeta Project. Oh, God, kill me now.
Blam!
I still haven't found a co-host for this, so if anybody is interested in talking about Zeta, I'm assuming that is going to be an extremely short show, like 30 to 45 minutes max, because there isn't a whole hell of a lot of information on that show. Zeta Project, holy crap. For now, I am TFG1 Mike with
Nightwing
and Steve Megatron Phillips.
Thank you for listening. Until next time.